What is up, everybody? Look, as of the recording of this video, WrestleMania is officially 3 weeks away. It is WWE's biggest event, biggest weekend of the year. It is what everything leads up to. However, we've only gotten 8 official matches announced for that weekend. And we'll get into what those matches are in a bit. But in this video, we'll talk about the rest of the matches, right? 8 matches seems like about a halfway point for this year's WrestleMania. It starts an hour earlier. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So, yeah, you can definitely fit in at least one more match in that time. So, in this video, we'll talk about 8 other matches that WWE might be setting up for WrestleMania. There's definitely more than 8 feuds going on right now in WWE. So we'll see which matches might make the cut. We'll see what feuds might make the cut to being a big WrestleMania match. Before we get into it, though, make sure to hit subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Look, like I said, WrestleMania right around the corner. We're posting as much as we can on this channel leading up to WrestleMania. Not just WWE content, not just AW content, some AAA content as well, and just a lot of fun here as we lead to what is essentially our biggest weekend of the year for wrestling nerds like me and you. All right, now let's get into it. Okay, like I said, right, 8 matches have already been announced. Those 8 matches are CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Nope, for the WWE World Championship. Great match to build, hit or miss, but yeah, of course it's going to be a good match. We also have Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the WWE Undisputed Championship. The build there has been pretty good. I think the biggest question there is who is in Randy Orton's ear, right? Who is in Randy Orton's ear? Who's pulling the strings? Who is making Randy Orton become that big bad guy that he once was? We all love to cheer him, but he is officially, I think, the heel going into this match. We also have this weekend or this Friday on SmackDown, they announced Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu. They announced Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams for the U.S. Championship. I think that'll probably become a triple threat match, but as of right now, it's just a one-on-one match between Sami Zayn and Trick Williams. We have Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi, which honestly, it's not a title match. It probably won't main event either night, but I think this is the match most people are excited about, right? At least I am, right? I want Obafemi to destroy Brock Lesnar. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll have to tune in and see. We also have AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Fun. This feud has been going on for a very long time, so perfect way to end it at WrestleMania. We have Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. I just want that match to be over. I want this feud to be over. I want the build for this whole thing to just be over. And then, of course, we have Stephanie Vaquero versus Liv Morgan, a match that seemingly WWE has forgotten about, right? We did finally get back to that story this week when Stephanie Vaquero attacked Liv Morgan, but for what, like 2 or 3 weeks? It was as if that match just wasn't happening anymore. Really weird build by WWE. But yeah, those are the 8 matches that we officially have announced for WrestleMania. Like I said, right? WrestleMania this year starts an hour earlier. It starts at 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. Eastern time. Years past, we've had between 13 and 14 matches between both of those nights. I'll say 12 to 14 matches, both nights combined. So if we're saying that 14 matches is what we get when we start at 7 p.m., you can definitely fit at least one more match if you start an hour earlier. So these are the 8 matches that I think WWE will give us at WrestleMania. I think a couple of givens that aren't officially announced, but we can all see the writing on the wall, is Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor. There was an attack on Finn Balor a few weeks back by the Judgment Day, officially kicking Finn Balor out. We also had that promo by Liv Morgan. Of course, we saw Finn Balor get involved in Dominic Mysterio's rematch for his Intercontinental Championship. Yeah, I think that a one-on-one match just for them to just a bad blood match. I do think that this match would have been made better if it was for an IC championship. Um, some people I did see talk about maybe this would be a match for Dom's Mega Campeonato. I hate that idea. Let's get as far away from that idea as possible. But honestly, let's just get a nice one-on-one match, good guy versus bad guy, two foes that used to be friends. Have it be, I don't know, an I quit match, maybe just a no holds barred match, something to where the Judgment Day can get involved for sure, and maybe someone can come out to help Finn Balor. I don't know who that may be. Maybe it's Raquel, or not Raquel, sorry. Maybe it's Roxanne Perez who comes out and takes Finn Balor's side. I don't know. But yeah, this match is definitely going to happen at WrestleMania. It's a fun one. I am all for it. Let's just have it be a normal one-on-one match. Normal in the sense that no title on the line. Let's not put Dom's title on the line. But I do think that it needs some sort of stipulation, considering the bad blood that both of these guys have towards one another. The other match that I think is pretty much a done deal is the women's tag team match. I do think that we're going to get a fatal four-way for the women's tag team championships. I think the way to make this match better, to make this match steal the night, is to make it a TLC match. I think we've all kind of been asking for this. We've all kind of been seeing the like weird twists and turns as to who would be challenging for these titles. So I think, yeah, the Fatal 4-Way for sure is happening between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, the Bella Twins, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, and then of course Lash Legend, Lash Legend and Nia Jax. Like I said, I would love for this to be a ladder match or a TLC match, but if it's just a normal Fatal 4-Way match, great. I won't complain about that. We also have, I think we're going to get Julia versus Tiffany Stratton. We saw them go one-on-one this past Friday night on SmackDown. It was a non-title match. The commentators, Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore, for some reason, saw Kiana James get involved. She just approached the ring. That is literally all she did. All she did was walk up to the ring, and then Tiffany Stratton paused for like half a second, did the, what is it called, the world's prettiest moonsault or whatever, and then Julia put up her knees, and Julia won clean as far as I'm concerned. But they have been feeding this narrative that it wasn't a clean win because Julia was there, because Tiffany Stratton can see Julia. Sure. I do think that we're going to get this match for the title at WrestleMania. I think that we're going to get a Chelsea Green babyface turn. I think that Chelsea Green is going to be in Tiffany Stratton's corner to help her kind of neutralize Kiana James. I honestly would love a team up between Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton. I think that they would fit perfectly with each other. And yeah, I mean, we're definitely, I do think we're going to get that match. That match isn't my favorite match for WrestleMania for sure, between Julia and Tiffany Stratton. But insert Chelsea Green in any feud, and I'm in. Match number 4 for me, out of the 8 matches that I think WWE will still add to the card, is the MFTs versus the Wyatt Six. Obviously, these two factions have been feuding for a while now. The MFTs have the lantern. Solo Sikoa has the lantern that previously belonged to Bray Wyatt. That is the rightful property of Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six. I think it would be really fun to have like a lantern on a pole match. We haven't had an on a pole match in a long time. That probably won't be the case. I feel like it's way too wacky of a stipulation for these two teams. I think this is going to be what, a 4-on-4, 5-on-5 match. I guess it would be a four male members, so 4-on-4 match. But of course, right, the other two will get involved. Yeah, and the winner gets the lantern. I do think that this is where we see Tama Tonga. Is that his name? I always get them confused, but I do think that this is where we see Tama Tonga turn on Solo Sikoa and go off and do his own thing. I do think this guy deserves a singles run. And sure, let's have his first feud be against the man that he stabbed in the back in Solo Sikoa. and let's give him the US championship at some point, because I think that this guy has been, people have been sleeping on him in 2026. I feel like he's been a very underrated performer since he returned. He is one of the best parts of the MFTs outside of Solo, of course, because Solo is the real tribal chief. But yeah, I think that's a match that we're getting. I think, like I said, this feud has been going on for way too long, and why else stretch this feud out for this long if you're not just gonna finish it at WrestleMania? Because there definitely needs to be something, right? The MFTs can't just keep the lantern. That makes zero sense. The fifth match that WWE, I don't know if they're going to give it to us at WrestleMania, but I think they need to give it to us at WrestleMania. And I've heard people say, like, hey, maybe we'll get it at Triple Mania, but that's in August. We cannot get Americano versus Americano. Loser has to take off his mask. You can't string that along for what, 4 more months? No, I think that this needs to be a WrestleMania match. I do think that it's supposed to be, that it needs to be a Mascara versus Mascara match. And quite frankly, I think that the original, the actual original, not the original, the real Grande Americano, the one my grandfather used to tell me stories of, the one that wrestled El Santos back in the days, El Blue Demon, that guy, the guy that wrestled the original Fantasma, the original La Parca, the original Abismo Negro, the guy that was in all of those movies with Jorge Negrete back in the days. The real Grande Americano. The one who is beloved in Mexico. The one who won the Rey de Reyes championship before that Chaparro original Grande Americano stole it from him. I think he is the rightful heir to the mask, and he needs to win that match. But yeah, I think we need to get that match at WrestleMania. Mascara versus Mascara. Sure, I guess if WWE can find a way to string this along, like maybe if we do get a match at WrestleMania and it's not for the mask, we can have a couple more matches to where we eventually do go mask versus mask at Triple Mania. I think it's definitely doable, but why prolong something when you can just give us something so good, and then we can get that Chaparro to take off his mask, and maybe he can be a wrestler, right? Maybe he can wrestle without his mask. Who would be interested in that? But yeah, I think Americano versus Americano, winner gets to keep the mask. We're getting it at WrestleMania. See, we're already up to match number 6 of 8, and there are definitely more than 8 feuds in WWE right now. So which ones make it to WrestleMania, right? My match number 6, though, has to be Io Sky versus Asuka. We saw that segment backstage where Io was defending Kairi, telling her she didn't have to put up with Asuka shenanigans. Asuka, of course, she also had a face-to-face with Io Sky. I think that this is where Kairi turns on Asuka. Maybe they become a tag team, Io and Kairi. That'd be a lot of fun. Or maybe they just become friends again. Or maybe, they just all go off in different directions as single stars, because I think that the WWE could absolutely use Kairi Sane as a singles competitor in their women's division, right? SmackDown in particular is hungry for women wrestlers, right? The roster is very thin there. So I think Kairi just breaking away from Asuka, sure, let's give them a feud against each other after WrestleMania. But I think that having her in the mid card on Friday Night SmackDown for that US title belt, hell yeah, let's do that. So I think we will get Io versus Asuka, and I think that this is where Kairi turns on Asuka, and there's definitely a story to tell there. They were all friends, they were all in Damage Control together, and yeah, that was never actually resolved. So let's do that. Let's have this match be a WrestleMania match. Look, number 7 is a match that if you watch AAA this weekend, if you watch AAA tonight as I record this on Saturday, they kind of tease this for a WrestleMania match, and apparently we're getting this match on June 11th in AAA out of Mexico City. But listen, there's definitely a lot of things that can happen to where we don't get a real resolution here, and we do end up getting this match at WrestleMania. And that match that I am referring to is Penta versus El Hijo del Vikingo. This is not a match that I knew that I wanted, but as soon as El Hijo del Vikingo came out and challenged Penta for that title, I was in. I am in for this. I have my concerns with El Hijo del Vikingo. I just feel like everyone who wrestles him ends up injured in one way or another. We had El Grande Americano. We all saw that video. I don't know if you haven't seen that video. There was a video online of El Hijo del Vikingo just stomping on El Grande Americano's neck. And El Grande Americano gets pissed and he tells the referee, like, hey, tell him to calm that down. Of course, also, like, Dom, every time Dom wrestles El Hijo del Vikingo, he gets hurt. So I do have my concerns when it comes to El Hijo del Vikingo. But, yeah, these two guys can put on a hell of a match at WrestleMania. There isn't anything set up for Penta as of right now. As of right now, the Intercontinental Championship is the only singles title without a clear WWE match, without a clear match at WrestleMania. I think it might be the only one that doesn't have an official match announced as of right now. No, the women's US title, which I mentioned earlier, but that has a path. The Intercontinental Championship doesn't really have a path for a match at WrestleMania. And I think that feud with El Hijo del Vikingo, I think, like I said, right, maybe some sort of shenanigans, maybe almost gets involved, maybe, I don't know, there's a count out of some sort, maybe, you know, the fighting between the two Americanos bleeds into the ring and they get involved and it's just like a no contest. But I do think that Penta versus El Hijo del Vikingo at WrestleMania, gangbusters. That would be a hell of a match. It would be absolutely awesome. I hope we get it. I do think that them having this match on March 11th, the weekend before WrestleMania, is just to throw us off their scent for a bit. Let's do it. Let's have this match be a WrestleMania match. Like the eighth and final match that look, like I said, right, it creeped up on you. There's definitely more than 8 feuds. You have like 4 feuds in your head right now as you watch this, and you're like, oh man, I guess 3 of those aren't going to be in WrestleMania. Yeah, they're not. Right? Because I do think that WWE is waiting to the last minute to make absolutely sure that Braun Breaker is able to return before WrestleMania. I do think that Seth Rollins' return, his attack on Paul Heyman, it's definitely going to lead to a match. There's no way that they do all of this and there is no match at WrestleMania for Seth Rollins. So yeah, I do think that WWE is playing it day by day. I do think that we're inching closer to Braun Breaker's return. We have Monday Night Raw at Madison Square Garden this Monday night. So a lot of big things happen in New York City. WWE loves to do big returns, loves to do big reveals, loves to do debuts at Madison Square Garden. So I have a feeling that this is where Braun Breaker returns. He attacks Seth Rollins, and we set that match up for WrestleMania. I just think it makes the most sense. It's either that or Seth Rollins versus Paul Heyman. And I don't think, I was going to say, I don't think anybody wants to see that, but actually, I think that would be so much fun to watch. But I think we are going to get Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. Braun Breaker has been gone indefinitely. Like I said, you don't bring back a guy like Seth Rollins. You don't bring back the storyline this quickly. You could have easily have done without him if you didn't have a match ready for him. And I do think that it's going to be Braun Breaker. Look, the Vision is cursed at this point. I don't even know what the point of all this is. I am the whole hooded guy shuffling around Seth Rollins thing. Like, I can do with a lot less of that. But yeah, we just need to finish this feud. We need to finish the storyline. So Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Look, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad match. I'm just saying the storyline is cursed because the Vision is cursed. Maybe Danhausen had something to do with it, but we're going to get Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. We're not going to complain about it because it's going to be awesome, but let's just get through this. There you have it. Those are the 8 matches that I think we're going to get at WrestleMania. Like I said, there's more than 8 feuds. Some of the things that I've written down on my paper, right? Like, we have something between Javon Evans and the New Day, but there's like no clear, direction as to like what match that would end up being. We've already seen Javon Evans versus Kofi Kingston. We've already seen Javon Evans versus Grayson Waller. Xavier Woods is out injured. So I guess we could like I'm not gonna complain about another Kofi Kingston versus Javon Evans match, but it just feels really last minute put together. I mean, a lot of things are, to be perfectly honest, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel WrestleMania worthy for me. I also thought that maybe we would get some sort of comedy match, some sort of fun celebrity comedy match between Danhausen and Jelly Roll versus Kit Wilson and The Miz. However, with Jelly Roll being RKO'd this last week on Friday Night SmackDown, this dude needs to sell it. He's not a wrestler, and he just got RKO'd by the biggest heel going into WrestleMania, according to WWE. He's a babyface for the rest of us, as far as I'm concerned. So if he just comes back next week and sets up a match against The Miz and Kit Wilson, it wouldn't sell the way it needs to sell. Like it wouldn't. Yeah, like the aura around Randy would kind of be broken a little bit. I mean, I guess not really, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I hope WWE doesn't do that. So I don't think that we're gonna get that match. Although I do think that match would have been a lot of fun. I also have Natty versus Maxine Dupree. I do think that WWE thought that they could get something out of this, but this is something no one's reacting to. I don't know what the plan is for Maxine Dupree coming out of this. I did have hope for her character when she won the IC championship. I do think that she could have held on to the IC championship a little longer. I don't think that AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch needed to have an IC title on the line. So I do think that WWE kind of screwed Maxine Dupree over a little bit there. And then I also look, we don't have matches on my card or on WWE's card so far for the men's tag team titles for either. Right? Where do you put R-Truth and Damian Priest? Who do you have them go up against? They haven't been feuding with anyone. They just became tag team champions last week, right? The Vision versus the Usos. They're going to have a match on Monday night for those tag team titles. The Vision will probably win. And I guess that is the whole point for that Paul Heyman, like, that was Paul Heyman's whole point, is that they needed gold to go to WrestleMania. So maybe, I mean, we probably will get something for the Vision at WrestleMania for those tag team titles. But as of right now, I just don't see a clear path. I don't think you just do a rematch at WrestleMania, especially because I think that the Usos are going to be heavily involved in that Roman versus CM Punk match. So I think that that's why we're going to take the titles away from them. And yeah, I mean, those were the biggest matches that I have. I think Hijo del Vikingo and Penta being on the weekend before WrestleMania, I think is my biggest question mark going into this. I don't feel like it could go either way, right? Like you can definitely have some sort of shenanigans and then they run it back at WrestleMania and no one would be against that. Or you can just have a clean win by Penta and then, but then what do you do with the IC championship at WrestleMania? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. It's like I said, it's really hard because there's definitely more than 8 storylines going on in WWE right now, but there's only room for 8 matches. So let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what I left out. Let me know why you think I'm dumb and some of these matches don't make sense to you. Since you made it this far, though, make sure to drop a like, make sure to hit subscribe, make sure to do all the things, and also go check out my WWE Friday SmackDown Explained. SmackDown, not that great, but that video, amazing. Anyway, though, as always, until next time, have a nice day.